Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to talk about Genesis 3, verse 7. Then the eyes of both of them were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves girdles. This verse marks the first moment of post-sin consciousness, a radical shift in perception that reverberates through all the lower worlds. According to the Zohar, this moment encapsulates the exile of light, the descent from supernal awareness into fragmented duality, and the emergence of self-consciousness as a barrier to divine presence. Where before Adam and Eve were naked and unashamed, from Genesis 2 verse 25, now they perceive their nakedness and cover themselves, illustrating a profound transformation of spiritual reality. The first phrase we have, then the eyes of both of them were open. The opening of the lower eyes. The Zohar explains that Adam and Eve originally possessed higher sight, Einayim Elyonim, the eyes of the soul, connected to divine reality and unity. But when they ate of the tree of knowledge, those upper eyes closed, and instead the lower eyes open, those bound to materiality, judgment, and fragmentation. What opened were not eyes of vision, but eyes of judgment. This opening is the severing of perception from source, leading to ego awareness, comparison, and the inability to see beyond the veil of matter. The next phrase we have the phrase of, and they knew they were naked, the emergence of self-consciousness. Previously, nakedness was not a flaw. It symbolized transparency before God, the absence of ego, and the full flow of divine light through the soul. But now they knew they were naked, meaning they became self-aware as separate beings. Their garments of supernal light departed, their inner light dimmed, leaving them exposed to external judgment. In Kabbalah, this moment is the withdrawal of the light of Keter, where divine radiance no longer clothes the soul, leaving only the shell of the self. The Zohar teaches they became aware of the body and unaware of the soul. The next phrase we have, and they sewed fig leaves together, the first act of human religion. In sewing fig leaves, Adam and Eve attempt to cover their condition, not through divine instruction, but human intervention. This is the beginning of self-made coverings in place of divine garments, the urge to hide shame rather than transcend it, the creation of the first religious act without spiritual alignment. The Zohar identifies this fig tree as the tree of the mixture. Its leaves represent external covering, while its fruit hides within. Their hands formed garments, but not of light, garments of concealment. The next phrase we have, and made themselves girdles, binding the lower self. The Hebrew term chagorot, in English girdles, implies binding around the loins, the center of reproduction, desire, and material urge. This suggests that they now became aware of sexuality as separate from holiness, needed to control or mask desire, were no longer unified vessels, but now self-aware entities fearing judgment. In Zoharic thought, girding the loins becomes symbolic of mankind's attempt to manage what was once harmoniously flowing, the divine masculine and feminine now split into shame and concealment. The mystical symbolism from Or, which is light, to Erva, nakedness. Before the fall, Adam and Eve were clothed in Or, in light. After the fall, they knew Erva, nakedness. The shift from Aleph Vav Resh to Ayin Resh Vav Hei is mystical. The word Aleph, from Hebrew, symbol of unity and divine breath, is not lost. Ayin, symbol of eye and material sight, replaces it. Nakedness becomes not just physical, but spiritual vulnerability, a soul stripped of alignment. To summarize, Genesis 3 verse 7 through the Zohar describes the metaphysical aftermath of the sin, not punishment, but spiritual disconnection. The phrase, then the eyes of both of them were open, their lower eyes, those tied to judgment and material perception, are now active. The upper vision of unity is gone. And the phrase, and they knew that they were naked, they now see themselves as separate, exposed, and vulnerable. Divine garments of light have departed. Shame arises where once there was innocent transparency. The phrase, they sewed fig leaves, this is the first attempt to conceal the fall, using external means to cover inner fragmentation. And the last phrase of, and made themselves girdles, they bind their desire centers, initiating the spiritual exile of sexuality, separating what was once unified. The Zohar teaches this verse marks the transition from the world of divine flow to the world of human repair. From here, all spiritual practice becomes an attempt to restore the lost garment of light, to see again with soul eyes, and to re-enter Eden, not through hiding, but through transformation. That's it for today. Thank you very much for your donation. Be blessed, everyone, and I will see you on the next episode.